Okay friends, so let us start with some motivational code and then we'll jump into the problem directly, the coefficient of variance problem. Okay, so if you don't sacrifice things for the thing which you wanted, then one day you remember, then one day definitely the thing which you wanted will become a sacrifice for the things which you don't wanted, for the things which you have not sacrificed previously, for the things which you regret. So what you want to choose, that is up to you. Are you getting? You want to sacrifice the things which you don't want for the things which you want, or you want to sacrifice the thing which you wanted for the thing which you don't want. It's up to you. Let's get into the problem now. This the confusion is between standard deviation, coefficient of variance, and mean. So if we take up mean, let us start with the mean. So because mean is a central tendency, right? So mean is a measure of central tendency and other two are measure of variation or dispersion, right? Yes. So now let us get into the mean. So mean is a average value that everyone knows. If your data set is spread across the most of the values of your data, where the point where the most of the values of your data is lying is what we are calling it as a mean of the particular data set, right? Now when we come for the standard deviation, suppose you have it is not about one particular point, you remember that. So standard deviation is also not one particular point, it's about a set of points. How much your data is being deviating from your mean, that is what we are writing it as -1 standard deviation, -2 standard deviation, +1 standard deviation, +2 standard deviation, +3 standard deviation, -3 standard deviation. So where it crosses the -3 standard deviation, we are calling it as outliers. Outliers means it's been deviating too much from your mean in a NPC, right? Normal probability, normal distribution. So how much it's been deviating from your mean is what says standard deviation in a layman language. So that is what dispersion or variation. This is the same. Dispersion means how much it's been dispersed. Dispersed means right after your prayer or something, school disperse, we'll say the same kind of disperse here. So going away from the mean, that's what dispersion is. Then when we come for the coefficient of variance, wherever you see the coefficient, you have to remember there won't be any unit for it, there won't be any dimension for it, there won't be any unit or dimension for the coefficient, any coefficient that you take. And its coefficient of variance is, coefficient is just a scalar number, scalar quantity, it's a number. In layman it is a number only, okay? That's why there is no unit. Most often it will be ratio of something, so there won't be any units for it. Now let's come back to the coefficient of variance. Coefficient of variance means how much is being variation happening, how much times the variation is happening. That is what they are calling it as coefficient of variance. This is variation and its coefficient is what? Coefficient of variance, something like that you can remember. So here the two things are involved in here. So coefficient of variance means how much it's been variating or how much times it's been variating from the mean. So variation is completely measured from standard deviation. So standard deviation by mean, it will measure it in percentages, okay? Standard deviation to the mean is what coefficient of variation says. Suppose this will be useful when we are dealing with the things. Now student 1, S1, who is scoring 85, his mean score is 85. Mean we are representing it like x bar or mu or anything, okay? And student 2 score is 75, okay? Like this we are representing, right? Now if you see student 1 and student 2, we will definitely say student 1 is very good because his mean score is good. Are you getting? Now I'll add one more quantity like standard deviation. So how much he's been deviating from his mean score? So standard deviation of student 1 is 10. Standard deviation of student 2 is around 20. Standard deviation of student 2 is 10. Now let us see coefficient of variance. Coefficient of variance of 1 is standard deviation, that is 20 divided by 85, and coefficient of variance of student 2, which is 10 divided by 75. Right. Now how much it is? 20 divided by 85 is into 100, of course, that is 23.5. This is also into 100, then it is 75 point, sorry 13.3, right? So what does this coefficient of variation means? Even though student 1 is getting 85, he will miss the score of getting 85 23 times out of 100. Means almost 25% he is not getting 85. Okay, if you see standard deviation of student 2, which is getting 75, but he only misses 13%, that is 13 times out of 100 times. If I conduct a test for 100 times, he will miss only 13 times, that is he will get the score of 75 every 87 times. Are you getting? 8 out of 100, 87 times he will get 75. Here out of 100 he will get 77 times. Who is more reliable now? Student 1, student 2, right? Because whatever score he is getting 87 times. Means it is just like you have put a target and he is hitting the target 87 times, student 2, and you are putting a target, he is hitting the target 77 times. Remaining 30 times he is not hitting the target. So this coefficient of variance is particularly helpful for us to identify the reliability of anything, reliability of your data, reliability of your performance, reliability of your stocks, reliability of your company, anything. Are you understanding? So most of the time you must be understanding that the coefficient of variation is dependent upon the standard deviation also, right? More of the standard deviation. Now let us get into our problem. Get back to our problem. So this is our problem statement which has been there. Arrange the data sets of the following in the increasing order. What is this? They are asking increasing order of the coefficient of variance. So from less to high. This is what we have to write and do it. So let us see. See, I have already told from the above steps, you might be understanding that standard deviation is what matters in the coefficient of variance more. So here you check once. The standard deviation is more, the coefficient is more. Standard deviation is comparatively, standard deviation of student 2 is less than standard deviation of 1. So the coefficient of variation is also less. So first you can check for this primary thing and then you can just go for it. So let us see. Standard deviation of this is, among all these things, standard deviation is less for here, number 1. Then number 2 is this, number 3 and number 4. So according to the standard deviation thing, so D, B, A, C, D, B, A, C. So fourth option. So let us check with this coefficient of variation also. You don't need to put pen and paper, just by looking at the standard deviation you can judge. That is what I was saying. Okay, let us check with coefficient of variance. Coefficient of variation is nothing but standard deviation by mean into 100. So whatever it is. Now coefficient of standard deviation is 4. First one, option A, we are checking. So 4 divided by 21 into 100. That will give you, let me use the calculator only for quick results. So 4 divided by 21, that is 19.0 something. Then let's check for the option B, that is 2.5 divided by 19 into 100, so which will be 13. Next, option C, 24 divided by 5.2 divided by 24 into 100, which is 21. And option D, which is 1.8 divided by 15 into 100, so it is 12. So now if you check, this is 19, 13, 12, 21. So D comes first, 12, then B second, third, fourth. Here also D, B, A, C, D, B, A, C. So in both the ways it is the same. Okay, that's it. You understood what you mean by coefficient of variance and all these things, I think. So that is the concept.